Which team's 2021 schedule intrigues you the most?
I know we've covered it a little bit on the show already, but I want to go back to the Chiefs. Can we bring up their schedule? Because it's so interesting. One, that they went to back-to-back Super Bowls. So you already know that they're one of the best teams in the business. But right out the gate, it's tough sledding. Browns, Ravens, Chargers, Eagles. But here's the thing about the month of December for Patrick Mahomes. He's 10-0 in his career in the month of December. Now, I was thinking about it. Has there been a Mr. September in the NFL? I don't think there has.
Okay.
The only
like
Mr. September.
You're great in the beginning of this.
Yeah. Great in the beginning.
Well, they used to call Alex Rodriguez Mr. April.
Yeah.
It was a backhanded compliment.
And there was a Harry Grant who won all September races back in 1991.
Okay.
We're talking cars. He was Mr. September. So I was like, all right, Harry Grant, you've been holding on to that for decades
Harry
now.
Grant.
We're going to give that to Patrick Mahomes, Mr. September. But what's important about this schedule is between November 15th and December 15th, they're at home. They're playing 3 home games, and they're on a bye late in the season. Why is that important? Because as a player, you're thinking, one, late in the year, we're going to be playing at home in our most comfortable space, and we get a late bye in the season. So if we're banged up, we got to retool, we got to regroup. We can use that bye to do that. So early in the season, we know that he's going to be on fire because Patrick Mahomes always is. At the end of the season, they're going to have a stretch where they can say, you know what, we'll be at home, let's win these games and set ourselves up for the rest of December and then January and hopefully another Super Bowl run. So the Chiefs, as competitive as their schedule is, and it's supposed to be, I feel like there's pockets of their schedule that they can look at and say, we can win these moments and collectively put together a great season and hopefully create some momentum.
I think the goal, right, is Mr. February, right? You want to be that guy. You want to be that one. And I think you bring up September, which is an appropriate way for me to start this as well, because I look at the Dallas Cowboys, and I think the NFL did Dallas is solid. And what are you saying? What do you mean? They play the Bucs week 1. Look at the Cowboys' first 10 weeks of the season.
Okay.
Take a look at this schedule right here, and I'll tell you, it doesn't exactly have a gauntlet of Super Bowl. All right, this is how they start. Super Bowl play. Okay, Bucs, yeah, wow, that was big. Chargers missed the playoffs. Eagles missed the playoffs. Panthers missed the playoffs. Giants missed the playoffs. Patriots missed the playoffs. Vikings missed the playoffs. Broncos missed the playoffs. Falcons missed the playoffs. All right, guys.
That's wild.
What are you saying? Strength of schedule is not that tough?
Hey, Dak. Hey, we couldn't have given you a nice softer entry. I mean, this is it. Welcome back. I know it's tough with the Buccaneers, but gosh, if the Cowboys are in some mid-season slump after that start of the schedule, giddy up, because it doesn't get any easier. The back half of their schedule is tough, but the NFL, I'll just say this, they like when the Cowboys are relevant. I'm not sure if this was intentional or not, but gosh, there's no other playoff teams from last year in the first 10 weeks for the Dallas Cowboys after they have that opening week game. So, Dak, CeeDee Lamb, let's get going. Amari, maybe you find your rhythm. I'm not saying there's any cupcakes on an NFL schedule, but this certainly isn't a gauntlet that other teams have to face out of the gates. Cowboys, no excuses. You better be good after September and October, because it gets tough after that.
Well, you might also say if they get their doors blown off against the Bucs, like nobody panic, because they're not just terrible. Like they might be 4-1 when you blink. That's interesting, Peter. Also, correction, Hamilton, the producer, points out Alex Rodriguez was known as Mayrod because he was very good early in the season.
Mayrod.
Can I also note that Harry Grant, who Nate is so well-versed on, is an automobile driver from 1880s.
1880s, Harry Grant. One of those guys.
No, it's your favorite.
1880s?
The 1880s.
They had automobiles that they raced back then? All right.
That was your reference.
My observation. Nate, that was
got the wrong
pretty
Harry
good.
Grant.
Just rolls right off the tongue. I think you're thinking about Hugh Grant. My sister-in-law, Laurel, has a maddening habit that really bothers me, and I'm going to pertain it to the schedule. Anytime she starts any kind of new entertainment, be it a book or a movie or a show, she goes all the way and reads what happens at the end before she starts. She's not comfortable unless she knows the end. So she could be like, I'm going to start binging Game of Thrones. I never watched it. I'll be like, oh, great. She'll be like, yeah, I just read Khaleesi burns the whole city down at the end. I'm like, what are you doing? That's how her mind works. It drives me crazy. I actually think Laurel is right when it comes to the NFL schedule. I do this counterintuitively. Look at the end of the schedules. I know the beginning is more tantalizing and it's how we're going to get started. Think of playoff pushes. Think of your team as kind of struggling. They can't decide if they're good or bad. Look at the last month. I've looked at a few of them that jumped out. First of all, a really hard one. The Pittsburgh Steelers. These are the last 4 games of their schedule. Peter, you point out all those non-playoff teams. That's tough right there.
Yeah.
I mean, Tennessee matters. Kansas City is Kansas City. The Browns, that is really hard. So if Pittsburgh finds themselves after 13 games sort of around 500, that sucks. That's a tough stretch. And I'll tell you what, give me their counterpart in the AFC North, the Ravens. you better have a nice fat record going into it because look at this schedule.
That's tough too.
At the Browns versus the Packers, at the Bengals, we have no idea. You're playing the Rams and then the Steelers. Like, that is not great. So I know that we're thinking about September, and September's of course huge. But in the back end, I'll give you a soft one though. Buffalo, you're not getting a lot of love today. Buffalo, you might be in good shape when it comes to December because here's your home stretch. If you are struggling, or even if you're not struggling, this is the way that the Buffalo Bills go 14-3 this year. Because sure, New England is looming, but like that is their December. When it's cold, when teams have to come visit, when you're struggling to figure out who you are, this is it. I know it's easy and it's always the candy to go to September, and I do it myself. December is what determines playoff team or not. I think Baltimore and Pittsburgh got a work cut out. Buffalo, you might be good to go.
And that's when it gets fascinating because the teams have gelled. There's momentum. It's not, you don't love the first, if you were to pick, the first half of the season isn't your
Well, it's liars and deception, and teams start out fast and we're like, we love them, and then they finish, 4-15 or whatever the hell.
But in order to get in that playoff push situation, you got to be hot out the gates. I looked at the Colts gauntlet out the gates. We're going to know very quickly if Carson Wentz can hold this team on his back and do his thing. He has to deal with Russell Wilson. Week 1, we get Quentin Nelson versus Aaron Donald. Mark that in your calendars as sneaky awesome. In week 2, Colts hit the road and head to Nashville to face the defending AFC South champion Titans, then to Miami to take on Tua and a 10-win team from last year, and then Monday Night Football battle against Lamar and the Ravens. That's sort of nuts. Each of their first 5 opponents won 10 or more games. 10 or more games in 2020. So yeah, I think we'll find out early if Carson Wentz is going to be able to get back to his old self and if he can put this team in the, thick of the AFC playoff race. I'm excited to see it. I have a question for you, Kyle.
Sure.
Perfect bye week in an 18-week season.
Late as hell.
Because he's showing the Cowboys, they had week 7. Is that like ideal or you want it later?
I think it's later. Matt Nagy, the Bears head coach, was on with the crew last night, and the Bears got a nice, sweet week 10 bye. And he's like, look, we've been through this before, and you get that schedule, and it says week 5 on it. You're like, this is an actual disadvantage, especially now that the season is longer and there's another game. So he's like, week 10 is almost like your halftime.
Week 10.
I think week 10 is amazing. And I mean, as late as possible.
As late as possible, because by that time, one, you know exactly who you are and who you need to be. So that retool that you need, that coming to Jesus moment, maybe that team meeting without the coaches, you can have that late in the season. But then also, all of your injuries are piled up.
Okay.
So now you can figure out who's going to be healthy for that late playoff push.
No team personified it more than the Buccaneers last year. They lost to the Chiefs in a tough game on Sunday, had a bye week, did not lose another game the rest of the season. They were like, let's regroup, let's do it.
They had guys banged up too. They got healthy.
Went on a tear.
That was like late November.
It was week 12, which is
Very
the perfect
late.
spot. But there's week 14 buys in this year's schedule, which is like, wow, you forget it's 18 weeks
Do you think maybe I'm
the
wrong.
earliest one 4
Is
or 5?
14
6.
better than 10? So would you really want it, Nate, would you rather have it 14, like I said, as late as possible, or just right in the middle?
Listen, some guys, and this is just me keeping it real, some guys want it early enough to where they can go detach, unplug, and travel somewhere nice because the weather's good. But then there's other guys that's concerned strictly about football. They're not vacationing during the bye. They're literally at home unplugging and then plugging in their ice machines and making sure they heal up. So it's priorities. The vets that want to win a Super Bowl, they'd rather have it late. The young guys who want to kick it in September and go to the Bahamas during their bye week, they want it early.
I also feel like
it's 2 different individuals.
It's not like players get 2 weeks off. What is it, like 4 total days off, if not less than that? Because you don't get.
Well, it
how many
depends.
days off
Sometimes
do
you
you
can
get?
come off of a Thursday game, and then you can have the weekend, and then the week, and then following up with that following week.
If it lines up,
you can get a full week and some change if you're playing well and the coach trusts the team.